Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we are still in denial mode, still in hangover mode from the World Cup. The World Cup has ended, but probably for the first time in our football watching lifetimes, we're hoping that we can have some more international football. Just a couple more games like the final. What a final, right? I remember Radha typing in full caps on the WhatsApp group, "This is the greatest World Cup of all times." And I have to agree, on field action in those terms, I mean, unbeatable. So, as mentioned, we have Radha on the panel today. We also have Ab returning from a brief hiatus. How you boys enjoyed the World Cup?
Yeah, swag. Probably, not probably, 1000% the greatest World Cup that I've ever seen. I mean, I don't know where to get started and where to end. It was just the most incredible World Cup, but what a final to top it all off. I've pretty much forgotten what happened in that third place playoff by the end of the weekend. Exhilarating stuff. And if I'm going to go for one moment, of course, the moment would be England winning the Fair Play League. I'm just kidding. So if I had to pick one moment, I'd go for the Mbappe penalty in extra time. That guy has ice in his veins. When I was watching that, I wasn't able to watch the penalty live, leave alone be able to take a penalty like that. And considering that he had already taken a penalty before, it's against Emi Martinez, who's known for his shithousery and mind games. Just incredible. And then he went on to get the next penalty after that. I know this is a day all about Argentina, about one man, but for me, the moment of the week would be that 23-year-old who may be a GOAT conversation for 10 years later. Let's see. But Mbappe gets the moment of the week for me.
Yeah, and it was amazing, right? Other peoples are struggling to get one past Martinez, and this guy is standing there having put three past him in one game itself. Amazing stuff. Ab, what was it for you? How was it? Were you rooting for Argentina or was it France who had your fancy?
So I've been rooting for Argentina from the get-go. In our bracket also, I had Argentina winning the World Cup, so I definitely wanted them to win. But I will admit that as the game was unfolding and Argentina were dominating and they went one goal up and then two goals up, I wanted France to come back into it because I didn't want that final to be over because it was just so good. I did cheer when Mbappe scored his second goal. And then the match went to extra time, and then Argentina scored, and then France scored again. We'll talk a lot. We'll talk more about that, but yes, I'm very happy for Argentina. I'm very happy that Messi won, and I think they richly deserved the trophy.
Yeah, it was just an amazing game. I mean, I think all of us were probably hoping that if they could just change the rules to Sunday League football and just keep going after 120 minutes as well. Why go for penalties? Just keep going for 30 minutes more. Maybe Mbappe would score two more, Messi would score one more and assist one, stuff like that. Amazing, amazing game. I don't think any final definitely, as Radha said, beats that. And very few games as well from World Cup history would beat the drama that we had in that game. So getting to the match itself, France had a very slow start, right? And that cost them dearly in the end. But was it more the case that Argentina won the World Cup, or was it more France losing it because of their poor first 70, 80 minutes?
It's a pretty inexplicable swag. I think we were all expecting both teams to kind of give away the ball to the other and play the same way that they've played till now. And in the semi-final against Morocco, I think France ended up doing that and giving Morocco ended up taking the ball. I thought one of these teams would have to break, and it ended up being Argentina who changed their style of play. That definitely surprised everybody, and I'm sure it surprised France, and we'll come to a few more surprises. But I just wonder whether it was the injury talk pre-game, the illness talk, the bug that we were talking about. because there was a severe lack of energy, lack of running, even when they did get the ball on the wings from Mbappe and Ousmane Dembele, who have been their main two outlets all through the season. Sorry, all through the cup. And then you see two early subs, like two first half subs in a World Cup final with Ousmane Dembele and Giroud, who by the way ended up being the third top scorer in the World Cup. These two get brought off, two stars for France. It just points to me like there may have been a physical issue there. Perhaps all those rumors were true about there being a bug in the camp, and maybe Giroud and Ousmane were two of the players who were impacted by that. Maybe more so because all of the French players were on the back foot right from the start. That is the only credit or only excuse I will give France. Everything else was all Argentina. So their energy, their game, their surprise element, it was just superb.
Yeah, you were talking a minute ago about whether, who would come out and try to win the game, because both teams have been happy to let their opponents have the ball right up until the final. And I think coming to the thing of whether Argentina won it or France lost it, I think that's what settles it for me. The fact that I think Di Maria only started the opening game against Saudi Arabia, and then he starts the final directly after that, right? So to me, that proves that Scaloni was like very focused, or rather very intent, that Argentina would be the team that comes out and tries to win the game. I can totally imagine every game, before every game, Di Maria walking up to Scaloni and asking, "Boss, am I starting this game?" He's like, hold on, just wait, just wait. And then he unleashes him in the final when France are potentially ill, some players, but definitely tired, many of them, right? So um, I think that was a great. It was a. I don't like to use that word, but masterstroke by Scaloni to just unleash Di Maria for that final. He had Kunde in absolute knots. He was fresh, and there's no getting past Di Maria that day. It was superb. His performance was brilliant. The first penalty, not the most cut and dry penalty that you'll see, but I think Argentina were well worth their 2-0 lead, and then we'll come to France's comeback in a minute, maybe.
Yeah, for France, I think you mentioned the double sub, Radha, and I think Giroud was just the casualty there. I think they wanted to take off Dembele, but also probably Mbappe was one of the few people who was not affected by the bug, so they wanted him to get up in center of all the action, which meant sacrificing Giroud, which is why they took Giroud off as well, and that gave Mbappe the chance to get into that left center space so that he could influence the game more. But even then, even after that, it took them quite a long time. But it took them quite a lot of time to gel together. But until the subs were done, it seemed like there was just 11 players playing. The other team was nowhere to be seen. So probably that illness also played a part. But apart from that, I think yeah, Argentina richly deserved their 2-0 at that point of time. And even when France equalized, they scored the first one and the second one. It was pretty close.
So I think I've touched upon it a bit, but one thing you have to take your hat off to Scaloni. Tactically, he has been really experimentative, and he's surprising all the teams that he's come up against. Of course, the Di Maria one stands out as what an incredible thing to do in a World Cup final. And when you see him play the way he does, it was reminiscent of the Real Madrid Di Maria, the guy who's selfless, who runs for the team, who has, of course, outstanding quality. Not the Di Maria who came to Manchester United and kind of did like nothing and has all our brethren from that side of Manchester calling him the snake. It was great to see. But you have to tip your hat to Scaloni, because in the previous game he played that four central midfielder formation where they were playing a little narrow and bursting through the back of Croatia. really fast. In the previous game, they switched to a back five against Netherlands, where Licha Martinez came on, and I was really expecting them to go to a back five in this game as well. But he keeps surprising people, and RK was mentioning on the group that he doesn't really have a strong pedigree in coaching teams at the top level. So sometimes the entire debate we had about Gareth Southgate and his skill levels and things like that, it doesn't take somebody like a Jose Mourinho to come and solve things. You can find the right person as long as he is showing the right signs. So, I mean, really impressed with Scaloni. Also impressed with France. I think they did try to change things, even though it didn't work out till one man basically took over the show.
Yeah, um, I was talking about this on our group also, and then I think Deschamps took off Giroud and keep forgetting who's the other player he took off on the 40th minute.
Dembele.
Dembele on the 40th minute mark. I was critical of those two subs. Obviously, France had played poorly up until that point. They had hardly had troubled Martinez. But I was critical of those subs because if you want to come back into a game, you need that focal point in Giroud. Putting Mbappe down the middle, which he played for some time, and then I know Kolo Muani and Thuram came in and they were also playing down the middle. But I felt that that was not a good substitution. It felt like a panic sub to me, and I would like to think I was right. I know those players came into it more towards the second half of the second half, but those subs did not work actually. France did not come back into the game. Even 70, 75 minutes on, they were not really, those subs were not effective in wrestling the control back for France, I felt. So I was actually disappointed in Deschamps a little bit. And I would like to think that, if France came back into it because Mbappe dragged them back into it almost. Obviously, that penalty to come back to 2-1 was a little fortuitous. But you need that, right? I mean, to me, it was not too different from the penalty that Di Maria had won. So, uh, I mean, I would, if for France's comeback, I'll give much, much more of the credit to Mbappe, almost dragging his team out of that rather than Deschamps actually coming back into it with some, you know, tactical master strokes of sorts.
Don't think they were master strokes, but at least he was attempting to make a change. He wasn't letting things be. The idea was they were not showing enough energy. And the two guys he did bring on, say whatever you say about their performance, and it wasn't great from France till the 70th minute. It wasn't really great, but they did have the energy. They did have the running. I think they Kolo Muani, who I was like a little confused by all through as to how is this guy really on this stage with all these other players. I was getting quite confused about all of that, but he actually played a superb role. He won the penalty. He almost scored the goal that won the World Cup in that most crazy 98th minute or whatever it was. So, I mean, they had a role to play. Their energy, they kept on till the end of the game as well. I feel like Ousmane Dembele, the game was predicated on them getting the ball in a counter situation and then blasting down the wings, and Ousmane Dembele perhaps was not physically able to do that. So I thought that those were required subs. It didn't work out. Yes, I agree with that. And I too do think that, yeah, basically one man kind of just pulled it out of nowhere and got them back into the game. But I applaud them for at least trying. It takes some serious cojones to take out your second top scorer and probably one of the best wingers in the world in the first half of a World Cup final.
Mbappe's feat was almost reminiscent of Thanos. You remember at one stage in the MCU saga, he just picks up the gauntlet and says, "Fine, I'll just have to do it myself." And he just goes, "Okay, you know what? No one else seems to be up for it. I have to do it myself. I don't care." What stories could have been written had he actually managed to get them over the line? It would have been remembered as the Mbappe final rather than the Messi show. So on those fine margins, as you said, with the Muani shot in the 121st or 123rd minute even, maybe he could have passed left to Mbappe. I don't know. Maybe something else could have happened. But yeah, those are all what if moments, all those sliding door moments. But looking at it tactically, you said that Scaloni had a good game, and Ab, you said you didn't enjoy the subs that Deschamps made. But yeah, I agree with Radha there that it takes serious cojones to take off someone like a Giroud and bring on someone like a Kolomani. I actually talked to a Frankfurt fan just before the World Cup started and just after Moani had come in for Nkunku, and he said, "Okay, this guy is young, but he's really nice. This guy's a season ticket holder, so he sees him week in week out. So he said that look out for him. He might do something interesting or something memorable. He almost did that, but anyway, right. So the stories were not about Mbappe. The stories have ended up being about a separate man, someone who has apparently now completed football. There's nothing else left for him to do, but it appears that he's going to carry on for some more time with Argentina, probably even defending the World Cup in 4 years' time. You'd never know. It's just 3.5 years away. So Messi has his fairy tale story, right? And I don't think many people would begrudge him that.
Yeah, like talk about a guy who just decided he woke up that day and I think he just decided, you know, this is the final. I'm meant to play this. I'm just going to own it, right? I think it was. I wouldn't be surprised if he walked up to Scaloni and said, this match I want you to play Di Maria out there because I want us to have the control of this game. I would not be surprised at all if that happened. From minute one, he just ran the show. That guy, he just absolutely ran the show. Um, I mean, obviously involved in, I think, all three goals. He scored two of them, of course, the penalty, and his touch and pass for the Di Maria's goal was just outstanding. It takes a stroke of genius to pull off something like that. We've seen it, of course, from him hundreds of times over the years, but it's still it's like one of those passing shots that Federer plays. We've seen him do it hundreds of times, but when he does it in front of you again live, it's still it still makes your hair stand up. So I think he just woke up and decided that he'll own the match and he'll take the World Cup home, or he's not going home at all, right? So I think just there's nothing else to say about that guy.
I mean, let's just take a second to talk about Argentina's second goal. Probably the greatest goal in a World Cup final that was scored. Just gorgeous goal from start to finish. Messi, of course, did play a critical role, but then the other parts in that play were also incredible. Ending with Di Maria, the star of the show, finishing it off, and then the celebration. Di Maria with his hands outstretched, running with his mouth open, eyes wide, and then ending it in tears. It was just incredible to watch. A few times earlier in this tournament, I've talked about that moment that makes you feel like a child and you're running around the hall screaming. I think Di Maria's goal did that again for me. Mbappe's second goal equalizer did that again for me. This entire it had so many moments, this World Cup. It's probably the greatest World Cup, the greatest World Cup final, the greatest goal in the World Cup, like I mentioned, probably the best extra time that we've ever seen in any game. Just outstanding stuff. There's so much tactically that was happening, but I'm just like not even getting into the way that Argentina got Griezmann out of the game. It was just great stuff to talk about, but I can't get into any of that. It was just mind blowing, the game that we witnessed, and then you come to the man. I mean, I was okay. For me, he was the GOAT, whether he won the World Cup or not. And I too, like Ab said in the beginning, I was really rooting for France to get back into the game because it was looking towards being a really boring 2-0, not boring, but you know what I mean, like not a end-to-end back and forth 2-0 victory coming to Argentina, right? So I was looking forward to France getting in the game and how they did. But then to score a goal and in extra time, Messi's foot, you think that the stars are aligned, all for it to come crashing down again with another penalty. And then you go into the penalties where Messi's entire career, the one black mark always against him has been his penalty taking. And he softly nudges the ball in the direction of the goal. In my opinion, it's a very savable penalty, but somehow Lloris kind of, I don't know, dove the right way, but dove like 10 seconds late. I couldn't figure it out. It seemed like it should have been saved, but he got the job done. Messi scored the penalty. He didn't have that thing hanging over his head, and Emi Martinez took care of the rest. Just just the most outstanding day of football, probably as a fan not related to Liverpool, that I've ever experienced. And I've never felt this way about international football. I've never been personally involved. I don't really hardcore support any of the teams, even though I am a Brazil fan. But the way I felt on Sunday, it was just mind blowing, and I'll never forget the way that this World Cup has made me feel. Crazy good stuff. I think Qatar, we've criticized Qatar a lot, but it's given us some of the best memories in football.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think it was a savable penalty, and I think we discussed it on the last episode as well that Lloris's record in shootouts is not that good, and that ended up coming to the fore again. But yeah, happy for Messi, and I don't think that a World Cup was necessarily the factor that would define whether a player was a GOAT player or not. Also, you can be in a really shit international team but be amazing at club level throughout. Doesn't mean that you should not be considered worthy for the GOAT comparisons as well. So I'm not sure whether winning a World Cup defines whether that guy is a GOAT or not. But there are many people for whom that is a criteria. So I think that got answered on Sunday. But I think moving forward to the third, fourth place playoff game now. And I think this was a game that we said no one cares much about it. Didn't seem like that on the match day, and definitely didn't seem like it in Croatia when you saw those visuals of all the fans with the flares out and enjoying the third place victory. And it's amazing, right? If you think of it from Croatia's point of view, they've played like 6 or 7 World Cups, and they've got 3 podium finishes in that. So I don't think there's a country who's got a better record there, and yeah.
I don't think we're quite ready to move on yet. I have to talk about. I mean, Emi Martinez. The plaudits should rightly go to Leo Messi. After all, a golden ball, a two-time golden ball winning, now a World Cup winner as well. Scored 7 goals in the World Cup, almost won the Golden Boot if not for that other genius that was Mbappe. But Emi Martinez really did take the game home. He had like 3 penalties scored against him by Mbappe all through the game. But you know that when somebody's stepping up and Emi is on the other side, you know exactly who's in charge at that moment. My favorite moment was when who was the first guy who missed? I think it was Kolo Muani, or was it someone else? But he rolled the ball to the edge of the box instead of back to the striker. That's just the typical most Emi Martinez thing that you can do. He made the striker walk an
That was Chouameni, I think.
Chouameni. Then
Yeah.
he made the guy walk an extra 15 steps to the side to go pick up the ball and come back. Already made the long walk all the way to the Argentina fans. This guy really knows how to get in somebody's head, and I think performance for the ages in that penalty shootout, and the game before that, sorry, the moments before that as well, saving Kolo Muani's shot. I think he has as much of a say on this World Cup coming to Buenos Aires as Leo Messi does, as astounding as that is. A player who's played in probably the second and third leagues of England, playing in all sorts of clubs whose names never get mentioned at any major stage, been in Arsenal for ages, been loaned out to the entire world, to have a say on the World Cup being decided and going to Argentina for Messi's iconic day is just incredible. But after the game, that's where I think I draw the line at what he did in the game. After the game, I felt like a real lack of class all through the place from Emi Martinez. They were in the dressing room, somebody shooting a video, he's singing a song about Mbappe there. He goes on the whatever that bus, that the tour of Buenos Aires or wherever they went, and he's again got Mbappe's photo stuck to the World Cup, like a baby Mbappe.
On a baby, yeah.
On a baby, yeah. So stuck to the baby and stuff like that. Little extremely classless, and then I get a little pissed off with these guys. Like, the guy scored a hat trick and scored a penalty on you. Took 3 penalties that you couldn't save. I mean, calm down. You've got enough going for you. You don't need to descend to this kind of bullshit. But yeah, I guess at the end of the day, he has a World Cup to shine and probably take home for one night. So good for him. Like, just don't like to see that after what he did after the game.
Yeah, and a bit classless with his antics at the presentation ceremony as well. But I think he forgot that the shithousery just needed to stay on the pitch. But also interesting to see that, and good to see that, unlike Brazil, where Neymar was supposed to take the fifth penalty, Messi came up, took the first penalty, got it out of the way, didn't end up in a situation where you have your best player waiting to take a penalty and that situation never arising. So that was also good to see. But another thing that made an impact was, like you said, his save at the last minute. It reminded me a bit of Casillas's save from Robin in the 2010 World Cup final in extra time, where he just stretched leg out, and again Martinez stretching a leg out. But I think something that you mentioned was that the clubs that he played for and Rotherham and stuff like that, whose names you don't really see mentioned quite a lot at the world stage. And if you look at the Argentina squad makeup as well, you got Martinez from Aston Villa, you've got McAllister from Brighton, so you've got lesser lights. You don't have like five from Real Madrid, six from Barcelona, two from PSG, etc., etc. You got a fair bunch. So I think earlier as well in history, what's happened is that Argentina have had a bit of infighting in the squad. The management has not been good, and what this guy has done, that Scaloni has done, is that he's created a team harmony which has helped them go over the final hurdle. And in terms of the antics, I think I'm just reminded of Jonathan Wilson's book about Argentina, whose title says it all: Angels with Dirty Faces. So they showed the angelic part as well as the fact that they still have that shithousery in them to bring it out whenever needed.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, I think, steel there, a lot of grit and determination, all those boring words that we always talk about but extremely required things. Skill as well. I think we saw some great displays of skill from a lot of players. But I think one of the standouts of the whole, we've already talked about so many standouts, but one of the standouts for Argentina for me was that midfield. I think tactically they were so flexible. They did each other's roles. They complemented each other so beautifully, especially Enzo and Rodrigo de Paul and McAllister. For me, McAllister has been the jump out of the box kind of character for me this entire World Cup. Of course, we've appreciated what he's been doing at Brighton, but this takes it to a whole new level. I think in the final, he had a little bit on the left. He was playing just so that he was supporting Di Maria and putting that extra pressure on Jules Koundé, which did end up counting. I think Koundé cracked under the pressure. A lot of people cracked under the pressure. Otamendi was the guy that we always knew and expected from, like, in the final. He actually finally had a moment where he cracked as well. But that midfield of Argentina probably won this World Cup for them. That industry and grit is what allowed the likes of Messi and Di Maria in this final to kind of really let loose. So great. I'm really looking forward to the likes of Enzo and Sofian from Morocco to make it to a really large club, given their displays in this World Cup. And I think this McAllister is just going to go from strength to strength. Maybe Brighton is a place to be, but some amazing new talents that came out in this World Cup. Even Adrian Rabiot, for that matter, he's had a great World Cup all through after being much maligned. So a lot of people, especially in midfield, really stepping up, and in this final as well. So I can't wait for the next. Well, I don't want to watch the Nations League, but I can't wait for the next Euros or the next World Cup to see more of this. This is the kind of stuff that you want to see in internationals.
You might want to wait for the next iteration of the Nations League, because if I remember correctly, some of the South American teams are going to join the Nations League. So it's going to be South America plus Europe. So that'll be one fun thing to look out for.
You can just bet your bottom dollar that in a week's time, when the Premier League is started, we'll be back to hating international football again. So don't worry about that. I don't think this bringing a South American team for a mid-season international break is going to make us feel any better about it.
Okay, so let's summarize our World Cup experience now, and we've been talking about this all through the World Cup. Give me your biggest surprise or shock, a team or a moment, your biggest disappointment, and one future star you want to look out for. I'll start, and for me, I think the biggest surprise was um, has to be Morocco. No one expected them to reach where they did, and yeah, I know I'm taking the easy hanging fruit here, but yeah, no one expected them to reach here, and probably in terms of disappointment, it has to be Brazil going out to Croatia in the quarterfinals. We expected better of them, and I think future star to look out for, and I think Radha is going to kill me for this, but Jude Bellingham. Is that 3 on 3 for yours as well?
I knew it was a mistake letting Swag go first. He's basically taken my entire section away. Let me just switch things around. I'll say my biggest surprise was the Brazil loss, going out to Croatia the way they did. The biggest disappointment, I would say, I it's a little bit of a weird one, but I felt really, really badly for Kylian Mbappe at the end of that final. I I I completely wanted Leo Messi to sign off with the World Cup. I felt that that was a really fitting end. Well, actually, the biggest disappointment I should say is Messi came out and said he's not going to retire. I mean, what a great time to retire on a high, probably the pinnacle of any sport, and you come out and just retire for God's sake. No, but no, he said he's going to go on for longer. I don't know. That's probably the biggest disappointment. But no, coming to Mbappe, I think watching him, the way he stood up and delivered in this World Cup all through and in a final. This is now the second final that he's delivered in. He's got 5 goals in 2 World Cup finals. Most legends don't have 5 goals in World Cups, period. This guy is going to be a superstar for a long, long time. I was really disappointed that you put in a performance like that. Not that he played well for 120 minutes, but to have an impact like that and to come out on the losing side, that was really disappointing. Future star to look forward to. I mean, Jude was definitely one of my favorites, but I mean, going back to the names I've been talking about all through the tournament, right? So Musiala, Pedri, and Gavi, of course. But though, if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with Enzo. I think he's been one that's really impressed and excited me. He has the ability to break things down, but unlike and Sofian as well, but I don't know whether you can count Sofian as one to look out for in the future. But Enzo really has that ability to kind of break things down, but also immediately get the counter attack started with a forward looking pass. And he sometimes seems to me like he's an 8 and a 6 in equal measure, and that's exactly the kind of player that all top clubs would be wanting to sign. So yeah, Enzo is my pick because Jude is already taken.
Uh, okay, I'm gonna sound cynical. Biggest surprise for me, and because we watch Chelsea all the time, is the fact that Ziyech actually can play well if you make him the main character. Who knows? Who knew, right? And
Wow. Ab
We have a
finally.
no,
convert.
no,
We
no.
have a convert.
There's still a like a pinch of salt sitting on my desk here, so I'm not gonna say that he's reformed or he's a second coming of Christ or whatever, but pleasantly surprised to see him do well given the captaincy. He takes charge, takes the team to the semis. Credit where it's due. Biggest disappointment, I would probably pick one of Germany or Spain. I'll probably go with Germany because I think between them and Spain, they are the better team, probably a slightly more mature team. Spain, of course, has a lot of young players coming through. So I would say that Germany were probably the biggest disappointment. I know we didn't expect them to like go out and win the tournament, but to not get out of the group, I think they'll be very disappointed with that. I think this is what second time in a row now they've not gotten out of the group. So a disappointment. I'll go with Germany. Future star. I mean, there's so many young players now. I think you guys hit all the big names: Gavi, Pedri, uh, and so on. So I don't have anybody else. I think from that list. Maybe my memory is not serving me well right now. Um, but yeah, I think there was plenty of good players to look forward to. The who look forward to good. I'd probably go with. Uh, Looking forward to seeing what Guardiola does over the coming years. I know he signed a new contract. He's probably going to be at Leipzig, and there's a good chance that he'll stay at Leipzig over the coming summer also. But I think there is a 100 million move not too far into his career.
Yeah,
So,
likely to Bayern Munich, as is usually what happens with German superstars, right? German league superstars.
Solid call that. I think Guardiola is a good call. I think he had a nice goal to finish off that very promising tournament that he's had as well. But okay, let's add one more question to the mix, guys. Talkie Taka has been all through the World Cup, been tracking what's been going on with our moments of the week and talkie moments of the week. What's your talkie moment of this World Cup? It's the one thing that perhaps not a disappointment, not a surprise or anything of that sort, but the one talkie moment that stands out for you guys. For
Why don't
me, it
you
would
start
be
off?
I'll go first. For me, I'm okay. I'm going to go with the quirky ones because we've already covered the stuff on the pitch. I think probably the talkie moment for me was where is Messi? Where is Messi? I think that's one of my favorite moments of the World Cup. The Saudi Arabia fan coming out and doing an interview after beating Argentina on in their first game and saying where is Messi, looking in the reporters' pockets and stuff like that. Just incredible fun. I think a lot of good banter in this World Cup.
Yeah, the banter level is really high. For me, I think it's going to be the leap of faith that the Morocco striker had. I'm still enamored by Morocco. I think they're by far the biggest story of the World Cup for me, even beyond Messi, because of it's a glass ceiling moment, right, for them. So the goal that they scored against Portugal, that stands out as my moment of the World Cup.
man, you guys, I didn't expect Radha put us on the spot like this. But um, I'll probably also say Morocco overall. I know that as per the official numbers in the stadiums, I think Argentina were the most sup or vocally supported team in the stadiums. But sitting here and watching in India, I felt the biggest noise come out of my television set when Morocco were playing. It was just an incredible level of support for them. I never knew that, and who would have predicted that Morocco would be the first ever African team to reach a World Cup semi-final? You would have put your money on Ghana or Senegal, right? If you were asked to bet. Um, yeah, I'll probably go with them as well. I think uh, they were brilliant. And just a quick note on that leap of faith in the quarterfinals. We all recall that Ronaldo goal against for Juventus against Sampdoria, I think. Right, there were two Ronaldo headed goals that sort of stay in memory. Right? One is the 2009 Champions League final against Chelsea, and the other one is this for goal for Juventus against Sampdoria, where he jumps to uh, like like an insane height to head the ball. He has no business getting there with his head. I just saw that the Morocco goal, the striker actually jumped higher than Ronaldo did for that goal against Sampdoria, uh, which is just uh, like who knew he had that in his locker, right? And to pull that off on an occasion like uh, that was just incredible.
Yeah,
Anyway, I kind of
So, so in a podcast talking about world football, the world stars, we have discussed Leo Messi for almost half an hour, and no discussion on Ronaldo until us talking about somebody who jumped higher than him. I'm not sure we can count on Cristiano to be one of our listeners of the Talkie Taka podcast going forward. But I guess the higher you jump, the farther you fall.
well said, well said. Okay, and let's do a rapid fire quiz before we close. We've had a quiz throughout the World Cup. So I'm just going to throw some questions at you guys. So 22 questions because it was the 22 World Cup. Which stage did Argentina not get a penalty?
Group stage,
Nope,
quarterfinal,
nope. It was the
round
round
of
of
Se-
16.
16.
round of 16.
Who is the only player who scored twice in two games?
Mbappe.
Mbappe.
Correct. You already took one of my questions. Who won the Fair Play Award? So that was England. They only got one yellow card. Who was that player?
Jordan Henderson?
Nope.
Is it the keeper?
Nope. It is the so-called fridge Harry Maguire against France.
Uh,
Who was the youngest manager at the World Cup?
Oh, Rigobert Song?
Close, but no. It was
Aliou Cisse?
Scaloni.
Aliou Cisse.
It was Scaloni at 44 years of age.
Scaloni. Okay.
Okay, Morocco are the first semi-finalists from Africa. Who was the first quarter-finalist
Ghana.
from Africa? No, it was Cameroon in 1990.
Oh.
And you remember this one. Which team did not have a single shot, not a shot on target, a shot in the entire game?
Israel.
Tunisia?
Remember who this was?
No, Tunisia.
Israel? Israel?
Sorry, Iran.
No. So this was Costa Rica. Yeah, this was Costa Rica.
Oh, Costa Rica.
Oh, right.
Which team conceded the first own goal? There were only 2 own goals conceded.
Wow. Oh, Morocco definitely conceded an
Correct.
own goal.
Yeah. That was it. That was Morocco.
Okay.
There was one team which wore 3 different kits throughout the tournament. Who was it? And this is a bit of a funny one.
Saudi Arabia?
No.
Argentina?
Uh-huh.
Morocco again?
No. It was Canada. So they played 3 games, had 3 different kits, and went home to prepare.
Oh, yeah, there was a black, a white, and a red. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh.
How many shootouts have there been in World Cup finals overall, including this one?
4.
Close.
Probably
7.
No cigar. 3.
Damn.
Wow.
94, then 2006, and this one.
Oh
there
shit!
was-
Those are all 3 that I knew. I just assumed there would be more.
There was one team that used their entire squad during the World Cup. Which one was it? All 26 players.
3 keepers that played. Is it? I'm gonna say Morocco with all their injuries.
No, I'm gonna say someone like an Argentina.
It was a
They
showboating
didn't
team.
have Brazil. No, but they
It
didn't
was
play.
Brazil. It was Brazil because they brought on
Who
their
was the
third
third
choice.
keeper?
This is a guy called Weverton. So W. Everton. So Weverton came on for the last 10 minutes of the Korea game, I think. Right. How many direct red cards were shown? We had 4 red cards. How many of them were straight reds?
2.
1.
1. The only one was Wayne Hennessy for Wales. You talked about the Fair Play Award, Radha. So this is a punishment for you. Who was at the other end of the table with 17 yellow cards?
Netherlands.
Argentina.
Damn.
But fair play. I mean, they played so many games, so that's still okay. Saudi Arabia was second with 15 from 3 games. Who did Mbappe emulate by scoring a hat trick in the final?
Sorry, what did you repeat that question?
Who did Mbappe emulate by scoring a hat trick in the final?
Nobody scored a hat trick in the final.
That just goes on to add to your what has Sir Ramsey done in his past history. This is going to be clipped up, I'm pretty sure.
Wait, no, I'm also
A
trying to think
hat-trick?
who scored.
Uh-huh.
Really?
Jeff Hurst,
I
1966,
thought-
England.
I thought this was the first hat trick in a World Cup. In a World Cup
No,
final,
no.
sorry.
No, second hat trick. So Jeff Hurst took the first hat trick in the 4-2
Okay,
win
let me
in the
take this
60s.
opportunity to clarify my comments in the previous pod. Alf Ramsey is a manager from a different timeline, a different generation, a different game of football. You can't compare records from current to his and say, hey, we're almost next to Alf Ramsey. He also got sacked after not qualifying for the World Cup 8 years after winning it and got knocked out maybe in the round of 16 or something like that in his next one. So he doesn't go down as one of the best managers of all time. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. And
Looks like,
but he has a World Cup.
Looks like someone has furiously Googled Alf Ramsey after the previous episode.
Now suddenly he'll tell us what he did after retirement also.
No. I didn't mean. So when I was talking about him in the previous episode, I didn't mean that he was a bad manager. I just meant that he shouldn't be compared. Like, I mean, he as in Southgate shouldn't be compared to him and say that that's a good comparison of any sorts. It's a totally different guy. I do know who he is and what he did, but I mean, it's irrelevant for Southgate's argument, is the point I was trying to make. But yeah, that being said, Alf Ramsey is not the most revered manager either.
Okay. Coming back to the quiz, which team lost to both finalists?
Lost to France and Argentina. Morocco. No. I think every answer is going to be Morocco.
Wait. France and Argentina.
Let me just check if any of the answers going forward are Morocco. No. Okay, I'm good.
Oh, Croatia.
No.
What? France, England.
It has to be once in the group stage then, at least
Correct.
one.
Yeah.
Ab's got thinking right.
So is this a France's group or Argentina's group? France's group had
Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Croatia. No, Croatia was in Brazil's group. Okay.
Man, the group stage feels like some 8 years ago right now.
Seriously, dude. Like.
Okay, I'll put you out of your misery. It was Australia. Australia played France in the group stage and lost to Argentina in the round of 16.
Right, Australia.
Which country missed all the penalties they took in the shootouts?
Spain.
Yes. Who was Irv Renard managing, and he became famous for his dressing
Canada.
room video? No.
Oh, Saudi Arabia.
Correct, Saudi Arabia.
No, Saudi Arabia.
Whose feet did Vincent Abubakar emulate when he was sent off after scoring in the game? So scored and got sent off in a World Cup game. Who
Sounds
was the last
like
guy
a
to do that?
Zlatan thing to do.
Oh, very close. You got the right alphabet.
Zidane.
It is Zidane.
Oh damn, Zidane. Oh, I thought he got sent off in the act of scoring. Okay, never mind.
No. Which club had 3 starters in the World Cup final?
Sorry? Which club
Bayern
had three
Munich.
starters?
Yeah.
Paris Saint-Germain.
Nope.
Bayern Munich.
Mm-mm. I mean, this club had 4 people on the in the squads in the World Cup final, and 3 of those players started. One of them is known as an enforcer on and off the pitch for Messi.
Oh, Atletico.
It is Atletico. So they had 3 people starting. How many goals did Qatar score?
1.
Correct. How many Premier League clubs were represented in the final?
Whoa, okay. Brighton, Liverpool, Manchester
Aston Villa.
United. This is a squad or everybody?
Aston Villa,
Squad.
City,
In the
Okay,
squad.
Aston Villa,
So France and Argentina.
Spurs,
6.
City. So that's 6 already.
6.
Arsenal. Well,
Is that-
no, wait. Arsenal, did they have anybody?
No, Arsenal.
No, Arsenal didn't have anybody.
That's it, I think.
It is
6?
6. Yes, it is 6. And which manager was shown a straight red card? The only one to get one.
Oh. I remember this. Shit.
Louis van Gaal?
And
Uh,
no, and this meant that this guy didn't have to face his actual nation. So he was managing a different nation, and this red card meant that he didn't have to face his actual country. It was the Korean manager Paulo Bento, which meant that he missed the game against Portugal. And finally, who sponsored the Golden Ball and Golden Boot award? Which
I'm
company?
gonna guess not Budweiser.
Why do I have a feeling that one of them is
They're both the
Byju's?
same. They're both sponsored by the same.
Did you say Byju's?
Byju's is the chief sponsor for the World Cup, man.
Yeah.
One of the headline
Is
sponsors.
it? I don't know. Is it Aramco or something?
No, it's Adidas, which makes more sense than Byju's.
By the way, quick shout out to that incredible Adidas sign that was, I don't know which city it was in, but maybe Dubai. But that huge 3D building signage that they had going on. Oh, that was incredible. Messi in the different ages. Great to see.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of the quiz, and I guess this is the end of our coverage of the World Cup. We've enjoyed every bit of it, just like we've enjoyed every bit of the World Cup, and we had a lot of fun talking about it and bringing this to our listeners all through the World Cup. I think most of us are still not ready, still in the hangover mode of going back to the Premier League season. I think the Carabao Cup game tonight, which is Man City versus Liverpool, will have to kick us screaming back into reality, back into club football. But this is us signing off from the World Cup, probably the World Cup of M's, the Middle East World Cup, the Messi World Cup, the Mbappe World Cup, the Morocco World Cup, whatever you
The
call it,
most exciting World Cup.
and ended by a kick by Montiel. And that is where we leave you, listener, and we shall resume normal service fairly soon. For the moment, bye.